There's a point where you become more self-aware and you understand that, okay, something's different. Even with your
Yes.
children, if just noticing their behaviors, it's especially with small kids. I taught school for 3 or 4 years, and I would see some of the parents will be like, "They're so bad." Da, 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 da. No, they're not bad. There is something
Right.
else going on, and then you hear the stories of the children and the trauma that they've experienced. Like they need some mental health counseling. Like they need
Yes.
something to support their mental health. Hello and welcome to Sit With Me. I am your host, Torrie Christina. I am here with you to explore and talk about tools to manage your mental health. All right, because we know mental health is something that we've heard that verbiage and it's kind of like a hot topic, but in the life of somebody that's really dealing with it is real. And you need the tools to be able to manage it. And one of my things is my personal story is I was diagnosed with PMDD when I was in college. And I have just gotten, I was telling Danielle before the show that I've just gotten to a point where I've accepted that this is what I have and I'm going to have to manage it. And I was like, okay, there is a way to manage it because the Bible tells us that Paul had a thorn in his flesh and he asked God to remove it 3 times, and God said, "Hey, my grace is sufficient." So what he's saying is that I've given you the tools that you need to be able to manage this thing, and I'm not taking it away from you. Even though I am believing God for my total healing and deliverance, because one day I would like it to be completely gone. But for now, hey, I'm going to have to manage it. So I wanted to share tools with the audience on how to manage your mental health. And I have Mrs. Let me get it right because your husband might be listening. Mrs. Danielle Kennedy Palmer. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you so much for having me on the show. And it's great to be here. I am a little nervous.
I
So
am
y'all
too.
just bear with me, bear with us as we present to you our expertise, our experiences, our everything. So yeah.
Absolutely. Now, Danielle is a professional. Okay. So on this show, you will get testimonies and experiences from those who are dealing with mental health issues and those that like actually work in the mental health field. So, but Danielle is super special and super unique because she gets to deal with both.
Yes. Woo!
Lucky you. Yeah, we can really laugh about this now because
Yes. Before I was like, I don't know.
exactly. But I think, like I said, like for me, I had to come to a place where I really accepted that, okay, this is something that I have to manage. This is something that is a part of me.
Right.
And for a long time, I kind of felt, because my niece is the one that brought it to my attention. She was like, well, I never heard you talk about it. And I said, well, it's not something that I talk about. She was like, are you embarrassed? I'm like, kinda, I guess. When I really thought about it, I was a little bit like, why me?
Right.
Like, why do I have to have this issue that does not seem to go away?
Absolutely. And I think everybody asked that question.
Really?
I think it's important to recognize that I come to see it now
Hmm.
that it's my superpower.
Yeah.
So I teach like the kids that I work with substance abuse and severe mental health, and the adults as well, that once you manage it, it can definitely become your superpower,
Mm-hmm.
and it can definitely allow you to do things that maybe someone else might not be able to do. You're literally just doing it in a different way.
Okay. So when you say like it's a superpower, like explain that more to me.
Sure. So I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder when I was in my late 20s, like literally. So I had it all my life.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up with Caribbean parents, they didn't really know what it was. They didn't really know how to handle it or what to do, who to talk to, or whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
And I also had trauma on top of that.
Yes.
So it's like it just exacerbated my symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
And it all came crashing down when I was in my late 20s, literally a month from graduating my program in graduate school.
Are you serious?
I was literally in a hospital because of my manic episode.
Oh.
So it was just like traumatizing and terrible. And I'm grateful for that because I was able to get through that and actually see both sides of the spectrum in a sense of you're seeing what a person would go through if they go to the hospital, what that would look like, what that would feel like.
Oh, that's awesome.
You know, so I got to experience that for myself.
Yeah.
The anxiety, the fear, the trying to figure out everything while working with the hospital staff and then going through your own treatment, figuring out what medications work for you, what doesn't. It's been like 4 years post that to try to figure out what medication worked for me and my body and just my own cycle of sleeping, eating, and what my triggers are. Yes. So it was triggers. A lot. And it's funny because I was doing that while I was serving those with mental health issues.
But that's how it is. It's like, okay, so I'm a minister. So you know, I have my own personal issues that I go through my life, and then they'll ask me to preach, and I'm like, not today. Like I can't tell nobody nothing. Okay, so I totally get it.
Yeah, and I got to a point where I was just like, you know what, Lord, thank you for this, because I was able to recognize how I can serve the community better. And also how I can manage myself better.
I am so happy you're my first guest. Like, I'm about to cry. I'm like, seriously, so emotional. Because, you know, it's like you said, thank you, Lord, that you've given me this. And that's what when I started being able to manifest the vision for this podcast and other things that I'm going to do, I was like, it really released my purpose. I was like, oh my goodness. Like, this is why you put me in this body with this situation, right, so that I can help other people. Because a lot of times when you're dealing with mental health issues, not all the time can you articulate what is going on with you. And God has brought me into a place where I can really articulate, okay, this is this is that, this is what I need. And everybody can't do that,
right?
You know, and so I want us to be able to help people get to the place where they can manage their mental health.
The first step to doing that is literally recognizing that it's okay to not be okay. And I think with our community, we're taught so much to just push through it, just go, keep grinding, keep going, hustle, do what you got to do, and like we don't literally take the time to like just sit and recognize what's going on within us until it's like way too late,
right?
You know, to the point where we have diabetes, we have high blood pressure, we have, you know, really big health issues. That's when we stop to like, okay, let me slow down now. Let me.
Okay, so you're saying like those physical health issues are linked to our mental health?
Yes, absolutely, it can. Because if you're depressed, you would either eat more and you'll crave like more salt or more sugar,
yes,
to help you like get that
try to get that feeling,
that feeling by that serotonin going through your body, the dopamine going through your body. So it's like you're trying to do that, but at the same time your body's like, that's not what I need. So now you're packing on more weight, you're packing on more health issues, and you're not dealing with the core issue.
Okay, now, and this is good for people that, like you said, that are coming into that place where they're recognizing that I'm not okay. You know, like these are some of the symptoms that come out of that place of I'm not okay. Even with, and you're saying like food, like we use food to kind of get those feelings and get those emotions up. You know, some people use drugs, some people use alcohol, and that's
marijuana,
why
kava,
everything.
It's hard.
Caffeine. I just quit caffeine, okay? Because That was my, I needed that. I'm on decaf though. Look, I'm on decaf. Eventually I'm going to get off decaf.
Hey, and that's okay. And I think that it's important to recognize too that it takes baby steps.
Yes.
Like you're not just going to wake up one day and you're going to quit everything and everything's going to be fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally making a conscious decision to be like, okay, this is what I need to do. This is my first step. The very first thing is to recognize what are your symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
So for depression, for instance, because a lot of the pandemic issues are being exacerbated.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're seeing the full force of like mental health issues from the pandemic, from 2020.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, now it's like people are recognizing, okay, like I might have an issue.
Yeah.
So with depression, it's a lot of, if you have trouble like getting out of bed, like it's hard for you to get out of bed, that hopelessness, that feeling of despair, like complete despair, you know, to the where you're eating too much or not eating at all, you're sleeping too much or not sleeping at all. You know, those are the symptoms that you might want to look for as well. And also just like irritability, you know, just snapping at people, you know, trying to, some people resort to self-harming behaviors. And that's when you really want to pay attention as well to like get help for that.
Do you feel like the addiction phase is like self-harming behaviors?
It's my take on that is that the addiction phase is I'm trying to cope with something I don't know how to cope with.
Okay.
And that's where I know that I can just go to this and it'll help me feel a certain way.
Right.
Because literally, chemically, you're off.
Right.
That's all it is. That's literally mental health.
Let me tell you, because with my issue, you know, it happens within a certain window. And for a long time, when I really started researching it, I was like, do I have like borderline personality disorder? Because the same things that happen within that, what do you call it? That,
episode, window, symptoms?
No, for like, borderline personality disorder is called a what? Like a
personality
disease?
disorder?
Oh.
No, it's a
You know what, Danielle? You don't have to do me like that.
It's not a disease. Okay. It's not a disease.
Okay.
It's just a personality disorder.
A personality disorder.
Yes.
So I thought I had a personality disorder, but PMDD is it's like, I'm telling you, they're
it looks like bipolar. It looks like anxiety.
Yes, but it only happens in that window. And I would actually have those episodes. And I noticed that, you know, it was up and down throughout my life, depending on what I was experiencing in life. So the more, like you said, the trauma, it has like those trauma times where I experienced some things, it got worse and then it got out of hand because I'm no longer managing it.
Right.
I'm like in this world of everything else is going on and then it hits me and then it's just, I don't know. It's just crazy.
Yeah. And it's like, we have to recognize too that historically, we as African people of African descent have so many unresolved traumas that we are generationally dealing with. And it's like it comes from, you know, some could be abuse, some could be verbal abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, all these things that we don't talk about, you know. And I like the movie Encanto, from the Disney movie Encanto. That like
is that a new one?
Yes.
Oh, I haven't. I am going to watch it. I am going to watch it because I said I was going to.
It sums up so much of what different family units are going through. And I love that it's like multicultural as well. But going back to people of African descent, like we have so much trauma in our lineage that it's literally compounded. And if we don't stop to recognize that, we're going to keep repeating the same things. So it's like, you know, you hear the negative thing of people saying, oh, my mom was on welfare. I'm going to be on welfare. My child's going to be on welfare. Like all those things. And it's just like, okay, let's recognize what's really going on. Is it the fact that your parent had an undiagnosed issue? Right. You know, because it's hard. It's so hard because it's like, if we can just recognize that.
And that's what we're here to do.
Yeah. And it's like, I just want to encourage people because I'm really passionate about it. And that's why I love the field of social work, because it not only looks at the person, but it looks at the person in the environment. Right. Whereas psychology would just focus on like the person, their behaviors, what's going on with them.
But the environment matters.
Exactly. So that's why it's so important to look at what's going on around you, you know, and just think about what can I do to change this, or what can I do to like go forward and do different things. And it's like be careful, because a lot of people resort to marijuana because it's from the earth. It's
right.
like
it's natural.
Good, it's natural.
Yeah, my body don't agree with THC. Okay, I started having really bad experiences.
And some people need to recognize that. And that's the hard part, because some people don't know that.
Yeah.
So we have, teenagers that come in with like severe schizophrenic symptoms because they have an episode from the THC from marijuana.
It is like it's not. Yeah. I'm telling you.
It's really
now. I'm telling you. I used to smoke a lot of weed back in the 90s. I'm going to say back in the 90s. But the new weed, there's a comedian that talks about this new weed. I don't know what it's not the same, y'all. It's not from the earth. It is chemically, like they put stuff just like in the food. Everything has been, all kind of things have been dumped in it to really just get you addicted.
Yeah. And you got to be so careful, because you don't know what's synthetic, what people add to it.
Right.
What other drugs are in there.
Yeah.
So you don't really know what you're getting.
Right.
So you got to be really, really careful. And like alcohol is so easy, because that's like the number one drug, so to speak.
Yeah. And it is. And, it's kind of unfair. Like when I don't want to get into this discussion about the government and how they allow certain things to be legal and certain things are not legal. But I feel like alcohol is just as damaging, if not more damaging, than somebody using marijuana.
So alcohol is a depressant. Mm-hmm. What that means is when you drink it, you literally cycle into a depression. So that's why people...
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
So that's why people they'll have like a hangover. They have like trouble feeling like happy or euphoric again. Mm-hmm. So they'll be like, okay, fine, I'll just drink more alcohol.
Drink some more.
Because that's what's going to make me feel alive or make me feel loose, or that liquid courage type thing.
Yeah.
But you're literally changing the chemistry in your brain and your body. Mm. So it's like you also have to be careful of that. And to genetically, there are some people who are more predisposed to becoming addicted. Mm-hmm. They might have the gene of addiction. Mm-hmm. Just like the same way you can have like heart disease, you can have like diabetes in your genes.
Let me ask you something. Okay. So, like if you give a child alcohol, do you think that affects them later on in life?
That's a good question, because I don't want to generalize it.
Okay.
That's what I don't want to generalize it, because everybody's an individual, and I truly believe that once you get help, I do believe that it's possible to break that cycle.
Yes.
But I would say be careful of the state of mind that you're in, mm-hmm. and why you're doing it. Mm-hmm. Because it might be something innocent, like you're doing socially because you are probably nervous to be around people. So you drink to kind of loosen up and talk to people. Mm-hmm. And now it's like you're doing it more often to get the same feeling. So you're trying to recreate that
feeling.
So it's like you want to be really, really careful with that. Even with like caffeine can induce like a lot of anxiety. And you have withdrawal symptoms from caffeine as well.
Let me tell you, I went on we did a raw vegan thing for 30 days.
Ooh, kudos to you.
It was great. Now, let me tell you, the second day, I thought I was dying from the withdrawal from the caffeine. Like I literally had like the shakes, sweating.
Yes.
I was throwing up. It was terrible from caffeine. Yeah. That's when I knew this has to stop. Like, I have to stop this because it's not good.
And it's like on the other side, there are some people who can drink caffeine and be fine. Like they actually calm down.
Right. I've heard that.
People who may have that issue mm-hmm. may have an issue with ADHD or ADD.
Yeah.
So it's like you got to watch that too. So it's like, it's really important to talk to your doctor. Mm-hmm. And let them know what symptoms you are. Mm-hmm. It's important to go to a doctor.
A medical professional.
Because our community doesn't like to go to the doctor until there's something drastically wrong.
But do you feel like, but because in our community, and I'm not just speaking of the African American community, I actually, and just to let you guys know that Sit With Me is a program for all beings, yes. But I am a Bible believer. And so some of the perspective may come from there, but that does not mean that it's exclusive to that. But even within the kingdom, when in the church, when people have these issues, nobody wants to talk about it. They're like, come up here and get prayer. And you're like in the middle of this manic phase, like this prayer. I can't even hear you right now. I can't even hear you. And I explained to Danielle, I totally believe in the supernatural power of God and deliverance, like totally, completely, hands down. But I also think that it needs to be a discussion within the church of how do we help those that are dealing with their mental health issues? Like,
Absolutely.
how?
Yeah. And how it starts with literally opening up a safe space.
Yes.
We as a people, as everyone, like you said, everyone, we need to stop judging and shaming this.
Yes.
Because we are all humans that go through this. Everyone at some point in their life has had issue happening, whether it's anxiety, depression, whether it's like a seemingly manic phase. Everyone has gone through something like that, or knows someone, or has gone through like addiction in their families. So it's like we need to stop that stigma and that cycle of shaming people, because it's a real thing.
It's a real
thing. It's a real issue. And for those of you who may not see it as a real issue, I just like ask you, and I encourage you and implore you to just have compassion. Because Christ showed compassion to everybody.
Yes.
Even if you may not agree or you think that your way's best, I would just say, like, just have compassion for people, because
it is
they're dealing with it. Yeah.
People are dealing with it, and then they don't have anyone to go to. It's like that auntie or uncle that you had, and you just were like, oh, they crazy.
Don't talk about Bruno. Watch Encanto.
He's just crazy. But no, he has an issue that needs to be addressed.
Yes.
But we're just going to call him crazy our whole life and just let him act in these ways, and nobody ever really sits him down to really get him some help. So that's a hard one.
Yeah. And it's like some people would say, well, I don't have the means, I don't have the insurance, I don't have any way of getting help services. And there are so many programs out there, and alone here in Palm Beach County, nationally as well. You can go to NAMI, National Association for Mental Illness. You can go to Mental Health America. There's also Mental Health Association of Palm Beach County, and also Broward County, where you can call them up, and it's literally example, it's a 411 of mental health resources in your community, where you can find places that do like sliding scale, or you can get free of charge, or even sign you up for Medicaid, so that way you can get the help that you need. And also if you are unsure about your mental health, or you need help, or if there's any suicidal ideations or self-harming behaviors, I would encourage you to go to the nearest emergency room.
Okay.
Because the nearest emergency room, you can literally have someone assessed, and they can also see a psychiatrist. We put in the psychiatric ward, so that way they can get the help that they need.
And you get the ball rolling really fast.
Exactly.
My uncle works with a nonprofit, and he used to always say, if you want to get the ball rolling really fast, and because he dealt with families and children, take them to the emergency room, and then you just get your ball rolling.
Yeah. And if you don't have insurance, the healthcare professionals at the hospitals will sign you up for Medicaid if you qualify for it. So it's not like you're going to be stuck with like having these enormous bills. There are programs that is there to help you. So it's just a matter of just going out there and getting them. And don't be afraid to get them, because I know there's so much stigma as well with minorities going to the healthcare field. I would still, please don't let that stop you from getting the help that you need.
Yes.
And if you're not sure, talk to someone, call someone, 411, 211. Those are two numbers that are helpful here in Palm Beach County, and I believe Broward as well. There's the National Suicide Line. They literally just changed it. So now I believe, don't quote me on this, I will double check, it's 988. If you need to talk to someone right away.
Okay.
And you can also call 211 as well if you need to talk to someone right away.
Yes.
Here in Palm Beach County.
Yes, that's awesome. I hope you all caught that, and you can also rewind and listen to it again and write down all of those places and agencies where there is help available. Because if you have to, there's a point where you become more self-aware, and you understand that, okay, something's different. Even with your children, if just noticing their behaviors, it's especially with small kids, people I taught school for 3 or 4 years, and I would see some of the parents will be like, "They're so bad." Da, 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 da. No, they're not bad. There is something else going on, and then you hear the stories of the children and the trauma that they've experienced. Like they need some mental health counseling. Like they need something to support their mental health. And other things I wanted to talk about. So when you're realizing, like I said, becoming more self-aware, and people will tell you you don't have to act like that. You're choosing to act that way. Those of you that deal with mental health, you understand this comment when people think that you can handle, like you have control. We're talking about managing it, but when you're on the outside looking in, it's like if somebody has a disease or a disorder that you can see, it's easier for you to be compassionate about that. But because you can't see what's going on in my brain, it's harder to get that compassion. What do we say to people that are dealing with environments that they live in where people are just not compassionate about what they're dealing with mentally?
Yeah. Please don't say that. Like, no, it's so hurtful when people, because like I know for me, when I was going through like I would cycle through depression and mania within hours, of like growing up with teenage hormones and trying to figure out my own mental health and like my trauma and all those different things. So my parents were like, "What is wrong with you? Like, we're just gonna discipline you," and it's like, okay, at some point, stop and ask the question. And depression looks differently in boys than in girls.
Mm-hmm.
With girls, they would tend to internalize it and just like self-harm or just hide away or isolate from it.
Mm-hmm.
And also look out too for the kid that's overachieving as well. So sometimes when a kid is overachieving and is seemingly doing well, people tend to, oh, they're fine. I'm going to focus on this other kid over here.
Exactly.
So be careful with that too, because even with adults, like we have to think about that. Someone who's always like doing great and perfectly, they're fine. I don't need to worry about them. And then, they end up committing suicide, or something bad happens. So just look out for that. And with boys, they lash out in anger. A lot of times society teaches men that anger is the only emotion, anger and maybe happiness.
Because you're a man.
Because you're a man, you have to show these things. And I feel that we as a society in 2022, we need to break that cycle of saying that, because we are all human. We all feel.
Right.
We all have just internal feelings that we're going through, and we just need to normalize feeling, first of all. I forgot your question.
Normalized feeling.
I forgot your main question. I'm sorry.
I flew away with normalized feeling. Because we are feeling beings.
Yes.
Like we feel things, and like how are you not supposed to respond to your emotions?
Right. And keep in mind too, like the behaviors are literally just an exacerbation of what's going on internally. And a lot of times it's not necessarily a bad kid that you're dealing with. It's a kid that probably is not taught how to regulate emotions. It's probably a kid who's struggling with, taking care of mom or taking care of a parent or caregiver who has a disorder or undiagnosed or addiction or even like physical or sexual abuse, all these different things. So you have to be really, really careful and really mindful instead of just judging a book by its cover, and just like get to the root of it. Just talk to them and figure out what's going on. And there are therapists out there who do work with like kids as young as 1 to 2 years old.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah. There's somebody on my list. I have a friend. I'll call her a friend. She has 2 twin boys and they have autism. And I'm going to get her therapist on to talk about that, even in that spectrum. And they're really young. So...
yeah, autism is challenging, but those kids, oh man, they're so like loving. They're so amazing.
Like outside of the
They're
box,
so
they're
amazing.
they're not caved into society's plan.
Right.
They're like really just outside of the box.
Yeah, and keep in mind that it's a spectrum as well. So you may not be on the severe end of the spectrum. There could be a mild side of the spectrum as well. There are some kids who are diagnosed with autism that they can't speak. And some of them just have social issues.
Right.
They can't look you in the eye or give eye contact or understand social cues or sarcasm. That's a big thing for kids who are diagnosed with autism. They're not sure how to understand jokes or sarcasm.
Right.
So they're very direct and very like literal.
Yes.
And again, this is a chemical issue.
Yes.
It's not something that they can control or deal with.
Right. Yeah. So that was the question was I was saying.
I had
like,
to go circle back.
Yeah.
Sorry. I get passionate. I'm passionate about what I do.
You are. And that's great because people working even in healthcare and other people's services, you should be passionate about it because you're dealing with people. So exactly. I appreciate your passion. Yeah. So I think we're going to end on this. So what are some tools, because we want to talk about tools to manage, and because you and I have both experienced the manic phases of mental health, what are some great tools that you have used to calm down and come back? Well, let me tell you what I've been doing. Well, of course, I still take my prescription medicine from my doctor, which is very helpful. I don't feel like the medicine from my doctor really is a cure for it at all because I still experience what I go through.
I'm so glad you brought that up. Because a lot of times when people take medicine, they think that
it's going to fix it.
The medicine helps you to manage the symptoms.
Yes.
So what happens is now as you're managing the symptoms, you have to learn the coping skills to deal with those symptoms as well. So that way it can help you just cycle through what the episodes that you're going through or the feelings that you're going through as well, because life doesn't stop. Stress happens. So you have to learn how to cope with those as well. And the medication for me personally, when I started using medication, I was on a higher dosage and I was able that helped me to cope with my trauma. It helped me to really like center myself and find out what are my triggers.
Yeah.
So for me, it's stress and sleep. If I don't sleep, I can't function. Like that's a big thing. So for me personally, and I'm sure for some of you out there too, it's really important to get a structure, to have a structure and to stick with that, even for kids. Like, I know it's hard because there's so many parents out there that work, so many caregivers that work, so many single moms out there. But it's so important to provide structure because when you provide structure and you have like a schedule, that helps a child mainly to feel safe.
Right.
So they know that, okay, I sleep
this
at
is
this
going to
time,
happen
I wake up at this
every
time.
day. Oh,
yeah. Like I go to bed at this time. And a really big thing for me is a bedtime routine. This has helped me so much because like I try and I'm still working on that.
Look, I'm writing it down for me. Like these, see, I'm writing notes here, but these notes are for me.
Have a bedtime routine. Turn off the devices like an hour before you are ready to go to bed. Because if you're watching TV or the news, please don't watch the news.
I don't watch the news. I never know what's going on in the world. My mom thinks I'm like an alien because I don't want to know, but I can't handle it.
Yeah, so be careful with that because what happens is you're revving up your system even more because like you're stress, you're watching social media, so now you're thinking bad about yourself because these people are doing so many things and I'm not doing what I need to do and all these things, and you start beating yourself up,
comparing yourself.
Yeah, and it's like now you're trying to go to bed and it's like your mind isn't rested. So it takes you longer to fall asleep, and some people don't fall asleep, so they'll keep playing video games or doing what they need to do just to help them like slow down or just completely collapse so that they go to sleep.
Oh, so they just wear themselves out.
Yes.
And that's still not good because they're not going to get enough rest.
Exactly. So try really hard to like slow down and also watch your diet. Like too much salt, too much sugar. Be careful of that. And be careful of how much energy drinks you're drinking as well. Kava bars. Be very careful.
What are kava bars?
I'm literally still learning about it. So it's, I don't want to give the wrong thing, but my understanding is like it's not a like drug per se, but it's like a root of a plant that they use, they add into their things. For those of you who know, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not like fully
I
invested.
have no idea. I haven't.
I literally like was
I
trying to
see them all over the place, but I
Yeah.
don't know what they're doing
So
in there.
it's just a mind altering, a mood altering
Really?
thing. So to
Okay.
help people like cope, just be careful.
Yeah.
Be careful what you're putting into your body, because you personally don't know what chemicals that may interact with you negatively.
Right.
So it's important to talk to your doctor, drink a lots of water, and just, go at your own pace. So structure, sleep routine, and healthy coping skills. So if you struggle with like self-image or self-awareness, start with affirmations. What do you like about yourself? What do people say that's good about you? Like how do you see yourself? How can you love yourself more?
Right.
Because so many times we pour our love and our cups into someone else, expecting them to give us back what we've given them. And we can't depend on other people to give us something that they too may lack as well.
Right.
So we have to be really careful who we link up with, like relationship wise. Just be mindful of that. And my mom and Oprah says this, like
your mom and
no,
Oprah.
My mom and Oprah. She says, when people show you who they are, believe them.
Seriously.
Yeah.
But we don't, and I think that's something, I'm an empath. So a lot of times, like, I will see who people are, but I still am like, just hope for the best. You just love that potential that's never going to get there.
So here's the thing that I've come to recognize, that we fall in love with a person's potential. We don't fall in love with who they are right now.
Right.
And we are hoping to change them and love them through it, and
they'll
love
get there
them so much that they will get there. But it's like, at the same time, we also have to be mindful of codependency too. That's something that we don't really talk about as codependency. And codependency is literally like you are sacrificing yourself for another person.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds like harsh too, because some people say, well, that's my kids. I'll do anything for my kids. I'll die for my kids. Let's live for our children.
Look, I'm going to drink this water.
No, I just want to encourage people to live for your children as well.
Live for your children.
And heal for your children.
Yes.
Because like, we deserve to be healed. We deserve to talk about these things. We deserve to heal from our traumas.
Yeah.
Because if not, we're sending it to the next generation.
Yeah.
And it's like, if I constantly see my mom get angry and frustrated and like, do all these things like negatively, I'm going to mimic that same behavior, and it's like, meanwhile, I didn't know my mom was struggling with anxiety,
Right.
those type of things. So
Right.
It's like, we have to be really mindful because our children are watching. And we also have to remember I want to go back to basics. It takes a village.
Yes.
And we have to now, even more so than ever, to band together as a people, no matter who you are. Let's stop judging people. Let's stop hating people, because now is a time that we need each other most.
Yes.
And I know that some people may seem harder to love because we don't understand what's going on up there mentally.
Right.
And forgiveness is possible.
Oh.
And I feel like we need to remember that too, that it is possible, and go at it as your own pace, because you never know what that abuser or what that person could have gone through that they did to you or did to someone you love.
Right.
Healing is definitely possible. And I just want to encourage everybody that whatever you're going through, there are people here to help you. And I'll definitely you guys can find me on Facebook if you guys want to talk some more, or just, hey, Danielle, I don't know, can you link me this resources? Feel free to do so. I'm more than open to help you guys. If you want to do workshops, I'm here for that.
We're definitely doing workshops.
I'm totally here for that, because let's make this year, this generation, a healing and a healed generation.
Oh.
Let's do that.
A healed generation.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, because my shirt says faith. We are still people of faith, and faith is, hoping for those things that we can't see, and we still believe, and I believe in healing for all. And I really enjoy that it goes, it's a global thing, you know, because we're all human,
Right.
no matter what the color of your skin is, no matter, you know, whatever our differences are. And we're just, everybody's different.
Absolutely.
Everybody's different.
And that's the beautiful part of it.
Yeah, everybody's different. You know, some people struggle maybe a little bit harder than others, you know, and maybe a little bit more to manage it, but we have the ability to do so.
And we have the science to do it as well.
Yes.
Before we go, I have one more thing to say.
Go ahead.
We tend to forget that people in the Bible are people. There are stories in the Bible that deal with trauma, that deal with depression. Let's look at Saul. Let's talk about Saul for a minute. So Saul literally he removed himself from God. And what happened? He fell into a depression. He would call David to come and play for him.
Music,
Guess
right?
what? That's music therapy. That is something that we use right now.
Therapy.
So it's like there's stories in the Bible. There's things that context that we can look at and see that
that's beautiful.
God has already made provision.
Yeah, I really thought about that. I was like, Saul is like really dealing with something, and that soothed him. Exactly. So like you're saying, it's just a method, a tool that he used to manage his mental health. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, there were real people in the Bible, y'all.
For sure. Like we tend to forget.
Yeah.
Like, that happened so long ago.
They talk about all the good parts, but let's talk about like that part.
Like Gideon. let's talk about Gideon in the Bible.
Talk about that part.
Who struggled with his faith and struggled with like feeling like he was good enough to lead his people. You know, because he asked God, Lord, are you sure you want me to go to battle? Make the dew on this side
this is
wet.
The one, the mighty men of valor, right? Yeah, okay.
You know, so it's like he struggled with like anxiety and self-image.
Self-confidence.
You know, self-confidence. So it's like we have to remember too that we have an amazing God, a God who created the universe.
Yes.
He created us.
Yes, so he knows.
And he did not give us more than we can bear.
Exactly.
So we need to also, I encourage you out there to not compare yourself to other people because that's not your testimony.
Right.
You have your own testimony that is going to change lives and change people's perspective of you. And don't let your mental health or whatever you're going through, you feel like you can't move forward because that is the attack of the enemy.
Right.
You can definitely move forward no matter what you're going through.
Absolutely.
There are people around you that you can reach out to. There's a community of people that you can reach out to. And of course, we have to, as people of faith as well, be willing and open our arms to those people because that is the gospel. That is what Jesus and God commissioned us to do.
He died for the world, not just certain people. The whole wide world.
Love on. I'm going to get off my soapbox.
I'm so excited. Yay. So we're definitely going to have Danielle back probably on season 2. And you will see her at some of the events that we will have. And she'll be helping out because her passion is undeniable. Absolutely undeniable. And I know that she'll be able to help people where, you know, and sometimes we get in places where we don't feel like we could be helped. Like you said, when you're in that bed and you're depressed and you can't even get up out the bed. Well, there is a place of healing for you. And we're going to bring you all the tools you need to help manage your mental health. So I would like to thank you, Danielle, for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
This was absolutely fabulous. Yeah.
I was so nervous, y'all. Oh my God. I was so nervous.
You did an amazing job. And your voice sounds really good in my headphones. So this is Sit With Me.
Now. I'm just kidding.
What? What did you say?
I said, don't make me start singing.
Can you sing? Go.
I can, briefly.
Okay.
A little bit.
Go.
Wait, what? Now?
Yeah.
Don't put me on the spot like that. Oh my gosh.
Can you sing something? Because y'all don't want to hear me sing. Because I be trying to sing. I was like, I don't know why God didn't give me the gift of a la la la. Yeah. You don't want to sing anything.
What do you want me to sing?
Don't worry about it. I'm just joking. I was just joking. But if she decides she wants to sing, yeah. So now that I know I have your list of gifts, we will pull the gift up out of you. Do you sing at church?
I do in my seat. Yeah. We have such an amazing praise team. I get intimidated every time.
Really?
But yeah, I used to sing like at church and choirs. Like I did solos.
Really?
Yeah.
I used to do solos too, but I was like 10, and they just tell you sound good when you're that age. It's not right. Because I really thought, and my sister was the one that was like, I don't know why they keep telling you sing so well. All right, so this is Sit With Me, you guys. We're going to have plenty of guests on to continue to talk about this topic of mental health because we are on our journey to wellness. So thank you for tuning in and listen for next time.